In this video, I want to show you guys how professional chess players, how grandmasters store their opening files in ChessBase. This video was often requested, and I wanted to shine some light on my current system with this. Obviously, we should start off by saying that ChessBase is the one of the only softwares to store your databases. Well, obviously there are quite a couple of free softwares as well. I always like to highlight Lichess in case you don't want to invest any money in the storage and many other functionalities which ChessBase has to offer. I always like to recommend Lichess because they offer the Lichess studies, which is also quite a convenient way of storing your opening files and generally your other files as well. But this video is going to focus on ChessBase purely, which is the software which basically every professional player is using, and from my experience also most ambitious amateur players are using it as well, because you have a lot of functions which you don't have in other databases. One of them, for example, is that you can prepare with an online database, you can prepare with a mega database for your opponents, which is possible with other websites as well, but ChessBase puts all of these functions pretty well together. So I had quite a few different systems over the years to store my files, and we're going to have a look at that in a second. I have to say though that I recently just changed actually my whole system of storing the files, and the system I'm about to show you is the one which Vishy Anand himself is using himself, and I know some other people that are doing it that way as well. And for me, I found it, at least until now, I found it to be quite convenient. Before that, and I think that's also what many people are doing, is to make specific folders for different openings. For example, you have a folder for your white repertoire, you have a folder for your black repertoire, and those sorts of things, which is going to have some problems though, because often there are some overlappings. Like, for example, if you have one folder for one d4 from the black side, then there are a lot of transposition with one knight f3 or with one c4. So previously I had this in one folder, like I had my black repertoire against one e4 in one folder, and I had my black repertoire against d4, c4, knight f3 in one folder. And maybe an extra database for sidelines, like the bird opening, like b3 in the first move, and those type of things. And for white, since I play basically every opening myself with white, I had it in a similar way. I had one database with one e4 from the white side, and I had one database with d4, c4, knight f3. And later on, I also restructured it a bit more and more, like d4, c4, knight f3 against g6 systems, d4, c4, knight f3 against classical systems, and all those type of things. But along with the years, I also struggled a bit with this system because, well, if you're checking one opening from the white side, then, I mean, you should kind of be objective and check it from both sides, not only from one side. Obviously, that's not something you can always do. Obviously, if you're trying to have a look at one line only from the white side, let's say, then your focus is going to be from the white side. But still, I think it makes quite a lot of sense to actually look at it from both sides. And this is now what I am currently trying to do. And I think it is also what many strong players do as well. Which brings me to the system which I currently have. We had the training camp with former world champion Vishy Anand a couple of months ago in Vienna, and well, he's quite the authority in every single regard, but also in this because he has a lot of experience, and I feel like he definitely needs a good system for that, because he played I don't know how many world championship matches. And for that specifically, it is already quite important that you have a good system. Otherwise, you're just gonna lose all of your files and lose completely the whole overview over everything. So now, how everything is looking. Let me just pull up my ChessBase board here. I'm using this as a small advertisement because last month I published a whole repertoire against the Catalan from the black side, which you can just see right here. And I use this as an example. So now, I didn't even say that yet, but now what I do is I have all of my analysis files in one database. So it doesn't matter if it's from the white side or from the black side. Obviously, the database is quite big. I think now in my analysis database, I have like 2,000, maybe 3,000 games in there, so databases. But there's a small trick, which I will show you later, for how to make all of this searching more efficient and quickly. Even if you don't have the strongest machine, it's going to be quite quick to look for the right file. There are a couple of tricks with ChessBase. For example, if you have a database open and you're trying to look for the position which you currently have, you can find the position in the relevant database. Okay, my ChessBase is in German, but you get the point. If you want to search for a position, you can do so by searching for the position with this function. Anyway, I'm trying to keep it concise. I have two databases now for all of my opening files. I have one analysis database where the bigger files are in there, and I have another one for the summaries. This is maybe a term in chess, specifically with ChessBase and with opening files, which some of you might have not heard before, but it's quite a convenient thing for regular tournament players who are ambitious, also to create summary files. So let's say this is the example which I wanted to show you. I have this file right here. So a complete repertoire from the black side against the Catalan, which basically starts at this point. And I have one analysis file, which, I can pull it up with this repertoire function, which we'll have a look at in the end. So now, after clicking here, you will see all of my files which I have with this position. It's scanning the whole database from this position, so I have 3 files there, and this is the relevant one, which I've just marked. You can see this is what I've analyzed last month. It's quite a clean file overall. I try to keep all of this very clean in general, so to have, at the end of every variation to have some sort of conclusion, for example, that it's equal, or write some text, or here, for example, you can see some arrows, which makes it easier to remember and also to understand the positions. Now, another important thing is when you are dabbling around with those databases is the variation moves. So here, right here, you see this file here has 1,535 line moves or variation moves, which talks about the size of the file, how many moves are in there. So this is my analysis file, which is the bigger one. And now let's pull up the summary file to fully explain this point. This is the summary file. As you can see, it's about 1,000 line moves less. This is also the file which, by the way, I showed in the YouTube video, in the members only YouTube video, where I gave the whole repertoire, which I feel like is completely enough for the average professional player. Also for myself, like I have the analysis file ready in case I want to go deeper in some line, but the summary file is mostly for repetition and for just, going through the lines again to remember the key ideas, which is an incredibly important point when you're preparing for a game in specific. You cannot really look at the file with 1,600 line moves. At least you cannot keep everything in your mind as well. But if you have a summary file, obviously this is going to be a bit more work to create those. But if you have those files, which now are really a lot less, like if you look through this file, it's really not as big. Still, of course, very clean. This is what I always recommend to everyone, to keep everything as clean as possible. But it is a much better version to work with this, especially if you're preparing for a game, because you cannot go through every single variation before the game, cannot remember everything, but it's important to remember the key ideas. So this is my current system. I've talked about it for quite some time now, but to make it brief, one analysis database and one summary database. And maybe a small detail which I can add. Let's go back to the main file, to the analysis file with this position. As you saw, it just took like 3 seconds. Is that, what was I about to say? Exactly. Here you can see in the top, it says analysis black. So this helps me a bit to keep track if for which color I analyze that. Obviously, if you don't have a lot of files, probably you don't need to make that marker. But I've just put this in here under tournament. I put analysis black. And same with the summaries. It says summary white or summary black, just so that I can remember for which side I've checked this. But I've also now seen that in some files, I'm actually working on it from both sides, which I feel like is probably the best thing you can do, but it's not always that possible in practice, I think, to have one file for both sides and just say, this is the best for white, this is the best try for black, and those type of things. So we have seen the important things here now. Now I want to switch to another view, which is here, my ChessBase. You see that I have a couple of different databases, but I just pulled up my YouTube database here, where I have some of the stuffs which I've showed before. I store them here, and some other things like the opening ideas, which I often like to show in videos. But the thing I wanted to show you was how to actually do this white repertoire and black repertoire, which I've showed to you earlier. So what you need to do is right click on a certain database. So this would be now on your analysis files database, in case you want to copy my system, or Vishy's system, which I copied from him, is to go on the final one. It's like something like optionalities, I guess. And then you have those two options here, repertoire white and repertoire black. So what you would, I mean, it depends on you. I have it that my analysis files are under repertoire white and my summary files are under repertoire black, which then will help you do this to find the games in this thing which I've showed you earlier. Let me pull it up once again, just to make sure that you all got it. Right here in the top, we have repertoire white and repertoire black. So these are my analysis files and these are my summary files there. Another thing which I'll get to in a second as well, which might be useful for some of you, are the reference databases, which I use also in a different way. So as I said here, you can go to the last one there and then put repertoire white and repertoire black, and then you can find all of the find your files very easily, even while you're analyzing. Now, finally, which does not really have a lot to do with the topic of this video, but now spontaneously I just thought I might include it, is the reference database, which usually people use in case they don't have, so this one right here, the first one. This one people usually use for the mega database, for all of the games which are played in tournament practice. Let me change the view once again. But I like to use it for correspondence games, because in ChessBase, you have this option to just look for all of the games, which you can just do in one click, or you can click the enter key as well, and you see all of the games here. So for me personally, I don't really feel the need to have a mega database right there. Obviously, if you don't have an internet connection, then it could be useful. But what I do instead is I have a correspondence database, which I need to update regularly. But like this, I just click on reference. So on my correspondence database, I did this thing with right click and then to mark it as the reference database. And here you can see I have all of the correspondence games. Now with correspondence games, it is like this, that some of the games might be in the online database as well. But from my experience, a lot of these correspondence games, which I downloaded, are actually not in the online database. So that is extremely useful for me. For some of you who might not be familiar with the whole idea of correspondence games, basically it's just a game between two engines in most cases. Like all of the correspondence players nowadays are playing with very strong machines. Therefore, many of the games are also ending in draws. But as you can see, sometimes it happens that people are actually winning. Obviously, in some of the games, the people might play themselves and not with an engine. That's why they can lose, or they, make a mistake in some of the analysis. Otherwise, of course, all of the games would end in draws. But still, in most cases, those correspondence games can be a very good reference while you're analyzing, because in most of the cases, the people really do their work there, and it is usually quite deep what they are playing. What I do for that is I go to the ICCF website, the official correspondence chess federation. I made an account there, and there I can always update the newest. I can always download the newest correspondence games, similar to the Week in Chess archive, in case you're familiar with that. Just need to sign up there, and I think they're publishing a new update every 3 months, if I am not mixing things up now. So that was it for today. In case you guys have any more questions, let me know in the comment section down below. I really hope that this was helpful. I know that ChessBase can be pretty overwhelming, I would say, because there are a lot of different functions there, and it's quite difficult to figure out a system which works for you if you don't have anyone which you can exchange ideas with, or if you don't know professional players that well, what are their systems. It's not really a thing which is often talked about, so I thought this could be useful. Again, if you guys have any more questions about this topic, let me know in the comment section down below. Also, let me know if this was helpful, and yeah, that was it for today. If you guys want to see more from me, you can check out my website. It is in the video description down below. You can also check out my courses for ChessBase, the One Knight F3 repertoire, as well as the King's Indian repertoire. And of course, my YouTube membership program, where a lot of interesting opening ideas are there. For example, the whole repertoire against the Catalan, which we've just seen. And this month, I will continue the whole series with building a full repertoire, a full classical repertoire against 1d4 from the black side. So this is coming there next as well. That was it from today. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you soon.